Right. Kia everyone. It's a privilege to have Shailesh back with us to do a comparative analysis of policies today. We both really hope that you guys have casted your vote by now. And if not, please do so. We still have a few days left. And today we are just here to talk about doing analysis of the parties on just two or three major sectors like education, healthcare, social welfare, employment. And it would be great if Shailesh, you can give us a bit of perspective on each of these. How have you felt, Shailesh, about these elections first? Like,
Yeah, it's a very going to be very interesting election, Shirali. First of all, thank you so much once again for us to come back and do this and to
yeah,
give our perspectives to all the listeners. This will be a good kind of a roundup for all the listeners to understand all the policies that we have trying to compare in our own way and in our own strategic way, but also most importantly, what matters to everyone is what we have done this on behalf of everyone, not just me or you or
yeah,
one sector. It is for everyone, how this government is going to react with their policies that is going to eventually affect us anyway. So before you cast the vote, we definitely have this opportunity from us to listen to us, also give our 2 cents of what knowledge that we have gained through this policies that has been announcement, lots of changes, lots of going backwards and forwards, but I think we did in a very simple way. We are going to talk. So Shirali, let's get into the first topic that you would like to talk about,
yeah.
the sector that is going to affect us, because these policies definitely affect everyone,
Yep.
and it's a good opportunity for everyone. Yeah.
So it's been quite from before I start asking you questions, Shailesh,
Yeah.
been quite interesting to see how these elections have shaped up this time. Like we had
Mm.
some controversies going on even in this voting time. We have had those easy vote cards not being delivered on time. I got mine yesterday after I voted. So
Right.
we got with politicians making comments like, forgetting the keywords like up to $250. So I think
Yeah.
it's quite an yeah, I don't think New Zealand has seen such a tight politician, like, the fight going on, or I would say in those kind
Absolutely.
words. Yeah, no, no, the wins we are used to see otherwise in different countries. So
Mm.
something which, yeah, that's something, which has been very interesting for everyone to see. However, anyways, we will focus on few areas, as I said, and the first question would be, or discussion would be around the education, healthcare.
Mm.
And like, different parties have got different agendas set up, different plans
Yeah.
set up. Do you see any like a key theme between all the parties, or what is your take on the educational healthcare policies?
Yeah, basically education. Let's talk about education first. And it was very interesting when I was talking to various party leaders and party ministers and candidates who are now standing for this election to understand their perspectives, their party politics, but also party policies, but also individually how they are going to react to these policies. And it's very interesting that everybody doesn't say that we don't want education or health to be covered. That's definitely on their priority list, which is good thing for all the listeners who are listening, that, okay, you're not going to get wrong in that, but it's how you do it is the question, and when it going to be put or implemented. That's the important part that everybody needs to understand. Each party politics are coming. So education, for example, education, the Labour Party already announced that there is a 20 hours for the 2-year-olds kids as well to be given, that type of thing. But also they have already increased the teachers pay, so which means they are now quite very well resourced in that regard. They have also done the immigration for teachers to fill in the gaps. So that's also one of the things that they have covered before the election. They have already put certain things in place. So that's a good thing, good start for education. But also from education point of view, the kids attendance has been completely berserked after COVID, and they are working on it, that how well everybody should get education and educated, and not like, so we have seen lots of kids, young, who are not attending the schools because of whatever economic reasons, or the COVID, after COVID math effect that has happened, that has taken place. at that time online schooling was there, and then now we back to normal schools. Obviously it takes a little bit of time to adjustment, all of that. We still haven't not completely out of that, but definitely they are working on those as far as Labour Party is concerned. As far as the school buildings of the schools, of the playgrounds and new schools implementation, which was required infrastructure, investments, those are also been taken care of and been done on that way. However, the other parties' views are quite different. If you look at from national's perspective, they want to bring like a standard reporting once again back to schools. So they want to dictate, they don't want schools to use the kids to use the phones as well in the school, which is good as well. But again, main thing is they want to bring back the reporting style of national standards or some standards for the kids for reading, writing, to judge, to report, and to actually, make a judgment about every single kid, what they are performing, how they are performing. So they are more interested in the outcomes. However, the outcomes is more put into a format where we can say like a more admin work, maybe for the teachers and stuff, which was also there before when national standards came in, but now then that was away for 6 years, and now they want to, if at all they come, then they will come back, bring back those kind of regime probably differently. And if we look at Act wants the collaboration of schools to be done with the private organizations and private institutions, which is again a different approach, which is again whether it will matter to the education, whether it will educate kids or not, that's a very different kind of dynamics to approach. Because for so many years, New Zealand National or Labour has been following the education system that has been gone through the long number of years. But if you are changing to charter schools or private involvement, private interference, then dynamics could be different. However, the most critical thing that everybody who are listening is there was a recognition of poverty, there was a recognition of child poverty. And this is something that I wanted to highlight specifically, that the school lunch program was implemented by the current government. And what will happen to that is a big question, but National has said that we will continue, but then we might continue with a targeted parents and targeted family. And then again, Act is saying that we will not make any wasteful funding. And so if different ideologies, so if they think this is wasteful, or if they have a different approach to help the kids, that's need to be seen. However, these are the analysis that I felt that, the most critical thing is education. And in education, teachers, we need more teachers. We need kids' classrooms. We need their attendance so that their family is looked after to make sure that they attend. We also want the kids to be tummy full so that they can learn and read very nicely, energetically, and perform very well. So that's all these are critical things, for any education sector to really go. So I think education is the prime importance because that's the future. And we want everyone to be educated so that all these violence or kids going into wrong direction and things like that that happen will reduce that issues basically. So education is very important. But in education, what is important is this: classrooms, kids, the 2-year-olds, for mothers, for newborns, and also all of that, where they can perform their jobs and everything for parents also. But also, if you look at from the health perspective, they need to be completely checked, taken care of. All of that things are also very important. So education is very important. And if you look at from the health angle, if you wanted to compare the health policy, which is also quite important, the current government has increased the nurses' pay, heading towards the doctors' pay increase as well. However, resources and everything in the health sector also has been funded for infrastructure. Again, same thing for hospitals, buildings and stuff. Funding has been Pharmac, but most importantly is the drugs availability, and the Pharmac has been in the highlight. Pharmac, and every 3 different parties have a different views of Pharmac. Now they have been there for many years. Now whether it is working or not working is a different ideology. But what the current government has said we will keep funding for the drugs, we will keep funding the issues that we have recognized, and Act wants to completely remove or completely review it, same as National wants to review it, the Farm Act. However, that's a very broad line that we want to review. Question is, now is the need. So all the voters, all the listeners have to understand what currently is affecting you now, what change do you need now, is all in these policies. And when you look at the policies of all the political parties, is this going to affect you now, or is it going to affect you in after 2 years? Because you need now, to now, whatever you need is now, not after 1 year or 2 year or 6 months, right? So I think this is my view, that, okay, you need to understand the dynamics of the policies. And when it comes to policies of health, it is very important that you have to understand that your wait time is reduced. You want to make sure that your treatment you get immediately when you go into ED, you will looked after promptly, taken care. But also then you need to be make sure that the funding is there enough for the drugs, for the medicines that you have a problem with. Because we recently saw National wants 14 drugs which are not there in New Zealand as funded. They want to get it funded, which is a good thing. But again, we don't know the statistical data of that, whether those drugs are important for New Zealand or they are just aligning with Australia and then saying that this is the same dynamics here. That needs to be seen. But Labour is saying we will fund the Farm Act for as long as it takes for the drugs that we need. And so again, that's also a policy that they are both happy with it. And we have to see for the other political parties, okay, what they are offering in the health for you now, because you may be waiting in a waiting list. Now, is that the policy going to affect you immediately? Then you have to make an informed choice before you go to vote. Yeah, I like this policy because it's going to make a difference to me. And I don't like this policy because it's not going to be until 20 years after or 5 years after, or I am uncertain, we don't know. So all those things needs to be looked into and taken into account when before you understand the policies and you want to vote for someone, or you vote for a political party, or vote for a policy rather than a political party. So make sure you vote for the policies, don't vote for the political parties. This is my message would be,
I
Sheerali,
think
that yeah.
that's an excellent something which resonates with me. Like you need to check the policies. But
Hmm,
unfortunately, I don't know how many people are aware, and that was the uh,
hmm.
reason we did this kind of a series for people to understand the policies. And some,
Absolutely.
I'm pretty glad to see the focus on mental health funding,
Yeah.
which has been announced. But like I think most of the parties are,
Yes.
with that they understand the meaning of and the relevance of that. And me being from a tertiary education sector, I would be interested to see that $128 million of
Yes.
the funding, if that's good to go through, like whichever party comes. That was something which was promised. And then the fees-free
Hmm.
education which was being offered, if they would bring it back. So these are few things which I think are equally important. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's going to be quite interesting. But every party seems to be doing something or the other
Correct.
with focus on that.
Correct.
Any final words on the education and healthcare thing before we go to the next part?
Yes, I just want to say finally one thing, that we came out of COVID, which was the most affected for every single person in this country, no matter whether you are in job or not job, whether you are in what state, you were affected because of some other. And because of COVID, everything was affected. Everyone was affected in the health sector. And I think we have come out of that health sector quite nicely compared to other countries. Now, whether there are lots of divisions that whether vaccine was right thing or not right thing, let's not get into that, all of that, but just think about from a peace of mind. We came out of some dynamics of health challenges. We don't want to go back into that health issues once again. So the policies will define that and design the policies that are designed currently to overcome, after overcoming, to stabilize and to take further into the proper direction is what you have to see for health. Same applies to education, but health was one of the key, because mental health, as you mentioned, we are not in a position to vote also in that mental state, if you ask me honestly, Shirali, because that's the challenge, that okay, we are so much uncertain of the world that we are living in. We don't know which policy is right for me. So please, if you don't understand, please make sure, talk to people. The more you talk, the more you communicate, the more you talk with every experts or the people that know something about that area and field, it will help you in taking those decisions very nicely. That's my final word. But please make sure that what is current available, what is the current system, where it's going to take you this with these policies, that's the key. That's my final message, Shirali.
Thank you very much, Shailesh. Thank you very much for those insights. And we'll join back for an insight on the next topic of employment. Thank you, Shailesh.